You're about to see some moments where robbers go from bosses to puppet in seconds. These are 30 real robbers who messed with the wrong homeowners. One afternoon in Texas, a door cam captured this guy who disguised as maintenance in an attempt to rob the house. We see the guy holding a notebook and acting like a real one. He rang the bell and told the house owner that he wanted to fix the air filter.
Came to check your air filters. I'm not sure. This is 38277.
According to the guy inside the house, the air filter really needed to be fixed, and anyone would have fallen for the robber's well-planned idea. However, the homeowner was a bit skeptical, and he told the guy to come back some other time. At this point, the fake maintenance guy went to the neighbor's door and knocked. Maybe he was about to use the same tactic, but unfortunately for him, no one was home. Shortly after, the other gang members ran up the stairs with weapons and started attempting to break the first door. They took turns trying to break the door, but their strength wasn't enough. However, while they were still trying their best, they must have bought the homeowner some time to grab his firearm. Suddenly, the guy opened fire and the loud sound of gunshots filled the air. He shot several times through the door, leaving the robbers no other choice than to run for their lives. In a similar event that happened in Connecticut, we see someone dressed like a delivery guy, and he also had a notepad, which gives the impression that he was real, and he indeed has a package for the homeowner. He rings the doorbell and the homeowner opens the door. However, as soon as the door opened, he stepped into the house and acted like he had a message to deliver. This probably made the homeowner suspicious, because delivery guys would rather stay at the door than try to enter. So to save himself from any harm, the homeowner pushed the fake delivery guy out of the house. The intruder ran into the delivery van that was already waiting, and they zoomed off immediately. In most cases, invaders are known to carry out their dangerous acts at night, and here is one such moment captured by the surveillance camera. While the homeowners were probably fast asleep, we saw a guy creeping into the house as carefully as possible. This guy would be the leader of a robbery gang, as two other guys followed him. They all went into the kitchen, and a few moments later, they came out with knives and ropes to probably tie the homeowners down. Their plans seemed to be going smoothly, but in the background, the homeowner had an even bigger plan. Suddenly, we hear a loud gunshot, and we see a woman jump out of the room with a gun in her hands. At the terrifying sound of the gun, the robbers took to their heels. On the 16th of September 2016, a CCTV camera captured a similar moment in Gwinnett County, Georgia. In the early hours of the morning, we see a woman firing at some robbers who broke into her home. As this brave woman opened fire, the intruders seemed to have fled, but she was smart enough not to fall for it. She hung around with her gun in her hands, and as if she knew it, the robbers came back and tried to sneak in again. However, she was ready for them, and she opened fire multiple times again, chasing the robbers as she did. You can say that the robbers picked the wrong home this time. Unlike previous clips, this CCTV footage shows a dumb thief and a homeowner who has a special but hilarious approach to dealing with invaders. The lady can be seen passing by the house, and she must have thought that no one was inside. So in an attempt to steal a few things for herself, she put her hand into the hole in the door and tried to read for the lock. However, the homeowner saw her on the surveillance camera and immediately swung into action. We see him walking towards the door with a huge club in his hand, and without wasting any time, he smashes the intruder's hand as hard as he can. You can imagine how shocked the robber must have been, and looking at how big and strong the man is, you can be sure that the lady may never be able to use that hand for a long time. This guy is seen walking towards a house, and judging from how he is being careful, you can be sure that he's a burglar who is looking for the perfect opportunity. Well, he must have thought it was his lucky day when he tried to open the door and he found out that it wasn't locked. He then stood at the door for a while before he suddenly ran off like he had seen a ghost or something out of the ordinary. And there he was, the house owner with a gun in his hand. The guy pointed the gun at the unarmed burglar who was already terrified. The homeowner then put his gun out of the way and signaled to the burglar to leave the premises. Here we see some robbers who nearly met with their doom when they attempted to break into a house one night. The robbers had already made a successful attempt at breaking the door, and they must have thought that they had it all figured out until the homeowner pulled a surprise on them. The owner must have seen them on the surveillance camera or heard them banging on the door in an attempt to force it open. So the smart guy was already waiting for them with a gun in his hands, and as soon as they took their first step into the house, he opened fire. Fortunately, none of them was hit or injured, but they all ran as fast as their legs could take them. On the 25th of September 2014, the CCTV captured a failed robbery attempt that happened in South Africa. In the cool of the evening, we see a man and his wife walking out of the house, probably going on a date. They both walked towards their car, and the man opened the car trunk to put in their bag. At this time, their gate was already opened as they were getting ready to move. However, some guys saw the open gate as an opportunity to pop in and rob the house. They drove into sight, packed their car, and rushed in before the man knew what was going on. The robbers pushed them into the house, and it seemed like they had their way already. However, a few seconds after they run into the house, we see them running out in terror, and we can see a man chasing them with a gun. Captain Underpants always saves the day. In a home in Kentucky, the CCTV camera captured a moment when two burglars made their way into a house. It was afternoon, and the homeowner probably made the mistake of leaving the doors open. Seeing that the coast was clear, the intruders walked into the house, but they didn't know that the homeowner was laying ambush in a corner of the house. As soon as they entered the house, they walked toward the room, but the homeowner immediately opened fire, and the intruders ran out of the house in great terror. On the 13th of November 2014, the surveillance camera captured yet another failed burglary attempt. Looking at how this guy walked boldly into the compound, you can tell that there is probably no one around. I mean, no one is this bold while trying to burgle a house in broad daylight unless they're sure of their safety. Well, this guy's assurance soon went down the drain when something unexpected happened. Unknown to him, there was a security dog in the house, and as soon as the dog smelled the intruder, he ran out of hiding and charged at the guy. Knowing that he was about to meet his doom, the guy ran off and leaped over the high wall immediately. This CCTV footage that was captured one night in June 2017 shows a house that was visited by some robbers. Since they chose to operate in the dark, their number or how they entered the house wasn't clear. However, the footage clearly shows the homeowner firing at them as they ran out of the house. The guy pointed his rifle at the hotel clerk, and he looked like he was having his way until he suddenly jerked off like he saw something shocking had he ran out of the hotel with his good-for-nothing rifle. This clip shows a guy who is standing by a lonely road and pressing his phone. A few moments later, a guy pointed a firearm at him in an attempt to rob him of his phone. However, the would-be robber was shocked when the guy hit him in the face. In fact, he hit him so hard that he fell to the ground and dropped his gun. The robber then crawled away from the guy, picked up his gun quickly, and ran off the scene. Here is a car robbery attempt that was captured by the surveillance camera. The scene opens with two loud gunshots, which were fired by a man in an attempt to save his infant from two teen robbers. The man had an infant in the car when two robbers suddenly approached him and tried to snatch the car. However, he was faster than the two teenagers, and he was able to stop the worst from happening. Somewhere in South Africa, this footage shows two guys who were standing in front of a house when a car suddenly pulled up beside them. Before they knew what was going on, a guy had jumped out of the car with a gun in his hand. The robber aimed his gun at them, but just like one of the guys was already prepared for such a scenario, he pulled out his gun without hesitation and fired at the guy. Seeing that things were not going according to plan, the car zoomed off, giving the robber no time to jump back in the car. In a store in Texas, a CCTV camera captured a guy who suddenly walked into the store and started looking and walking around like he needed to steal something urgently. The people in the store felt that the guy's movement was suspicious, so they all went out and locked the door. Not knowing what had happened, the guy kept looking around the store, and as soon as he found what he needed, he walked toward the door. However, it was at that moment he realized that he had been locked in the store, along with his crime. As soon as he found out that he had been caught red-handed, he went back into the store to return what he had stolen. Then he started his escape plan by first shooting at the door multiple times and hitting the door with full force. But to his utter doom, none of his plans worked out, so he pulled out the last card. He started begging to be released. Well, maybe he would have been lucky if the store attendant hadn't already called the cops. Here is another store in San Diego where the store attendant taught the intruder a lesson of his life. The attendant is seen having an altercation with the guy, and it all ended with some pepper spray in the guy's face. One evening in June 2023, a robber barged into a restaurant in Houston but had himself to blame for it. The robber walked in with a gun in his hands, and he threatened the customers to hand over their money and phones. It was going well for him, and he had gathered some cool cash already. However, one of the customers had a big plan for him. The guy pulled out his firearm, opened fire on the guy, and helped the other customers to retrieve the items he had collected from them. Here we see yet another altercation between a robber and a store attendant. The attendant is seen spraying pepper on the guy who had a hammer in his hands. The attendant locked him in to wallow in the pain of the spray. However, a customer added some more salt to the robber's wounds when he decided to join in the fight. The guy picked up an iron chair and hit the robber with it continuously. But as if that was not enough, the attendant came back into the store and turned up the heat of the fight. This robber sneaked into a store, and he thought it was probably going to be a smooth one. Everything was working out for him until he discovered that he had chosen the wrong store. While he was still engrossed in his assignment, a huge guy suddenly entered. The robber tried to escape, but it was too late for him, and the fact that there were more guys in the store made it even worse. In this car battery store in Pakistan, we see a similar event when some robbers barged in with guns in their hands. They also seemed like they knew what they were doing until the store attendants showed them who's boss. These robbers pulled up in a gold store in Thailand, and since everywhere looked empty, they must have thought that it was their lucky day. They broke the glass and found their way into the store, and in no time they swung into action. However, they didn't know that the store owner was watching them from a corner with a rifle in his hands. Suddenly, the store owner opened fire, and their seemingly lucky day ended in chaos. Some armed robbers walked into this office space, and we see one of them walking toward a man. He held the man at gunpoint and searched his pockets to see if he had any valuables. But while he was still in the middle of the search, the tables turned and the robbers were overpowered. This clip shows two guys on a bike and a guy making a phone call. The robbers on the bike snatched his phone, and they thought they could get away with it. However, they soon found out that they had bitten more than they could chew when the whole community swung into action. Outro? Okay guys, this is where we take a bow. What do you think about these moments, and which of them is your favorite? Let us know your thoughts in the comments section.